Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. President Obama believes his foreign policy is working. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. First off, Talking Points have been telling you that the world is descending into chaos because the USA has retreated from a power position overseas. Item: after President Obama pulled all American troops out of Iraq, ISIS terrorists invaded the country and they are still there. Item: millions of people in Syria have been killed or driven from their homes by a vicious civil war that has included the use of poison gas and chlorine on children by the Syrian tyrant Assad. President Obama has threatened Assad, but done nothing. Item: after proclaiming the country of Yemen a success story in the war on terror, that country's government has now collapsed and is being run by terrorists. Item: the Russian tyrant Putin has seized Ukrainian territory and is saber-rattling all over Eastern Europe. Item: after NATO removed the brutal dictator Gaddafi in Libya, no peacekeeping force was left behind. The result? Terrorists now control much of the country, and thousands of refugees are fleeing across the Mediterranean into Europe. Item: in the Pacific, China is claiming territory that has historically belonged to the Philippines and Vietnam, and it looks like China will get away with it. Putin did. Why not them? Item: more than a year ago in Nigeria, the Muslim terrorist group Boko Haram kidnapped about 250 young girls. The girls are still missing. So you can see the litany of atrocities all over the world is growing, and I didn't even mention the horrors in Afghanistan and the misdeeds of Iran. Nevertheless, here's what President Obama said yesterday.
There's a lot of tumult and chaos around the world right now, and part of our goal as the world's leading superpower is to work with partner countries to try to resolve conflicts, to be ruthless in going after terrorism. But we're not going to do that by ourselves, and we're not going to do it just by deploying more Marines in every country that has these problems.
But it's not about deploying Marines on the ground. It's about motivating the free world to confront the jihad and other threats to global order. The president also refers to partner countries. But as we pointed out, the 60-nation coalition allegedly united to fight ISIS does little or nothing. And most folks agree with me. According to a brand new Fox News poll which asked, how are things going in the fight against ISIS? Very well, 3%. Somewhat well, 30%. Somewhat badly, 34%. Very badly, 29%. Do you approve of how President Obama is handling Iran? 32% approve, 57% disapprove. And it's worth noting that about 32% of Americans, according to polls, will back anything Barack Obama does, anything. So he isn't getting much support outside his Kool-Aid folks. To me, President Obama's living in a dream world, and he gets away with it because the real world doesn't really care. Putin knows that. The jihadists also know it. They can commit atrocity after atrocity, and little is done. The rise of ISIS is a disgrace to the world. It should have been stamped out immediately after those killers began murdering civilians. But President Obama and the world dithered. And now ISIS has spread all over the Middle East and North Africa. Talking Points laments the state of the world and strongly suggests that the President of the United States get real. Things are bad, period. And that's the memo. Now for the top story tonight, reaction. Joining us from Washington, Fox News analyst Charles Krauthammer. Where am I going wrong, Charles?
Well, amazingly, you're not going wrong at all. And Obama's not going to get real if you can't get real in the first 6 years of your presidency with the litany of facts that you presented. You're never going to get real. Obama says, you know, the level of violence in the world is less than it was, say, 30 years ago. Even if that is true, what kind of adolescent measure is that of the success of a president's foreign policy? If that's your measure, Lincoln was the worst president of the 19th century. A lot of Americans died under his watch. If that's the measure, FDR was the worst of the 20th, and Churchill was the worst man of all in the Western world in the 20th. It is a ridiculous way to look at what we have succeeded and not succeeded in doing. The objective of American foreign policy is to protect our national interest and to protect our friends, and, to quote the words of John F. Kennedy, in his inaugural address is try to preserve and to advance the success of liberty in the world. And on every measure, the way our friends look at us, the way they trust us, or our adversaries worry about us or respect or fear us, it's been a disastrous 6 years. And you can start anywhere you like, but if you wanted to go, say, to Ukraine, you had Obama saying, you know, everybody, my opponents want to put Marines on the ground. This is a false choice that he uses because he has no argument. Nobody is asking for American intervention.
That's right.
On the ground in Ukraine. The Ukrainians are on their knees begging us for defensive weaponry to defend themselves.
And all you'd have to do
Obama
would just be
turns
stop the
them
commerce
down.
with Russia through the use of credit cards. We've gone over that time and time again, and that would just put them into a depression. Now, the 32% of Americans, and that includes many in the media, because you're not getting this kind of an analysis that Charles and I are giving you from anywhere else in the media that I know. Maybe the Wall Street Journal editorial page, but that would be about it. President Obama and his acolytes will never admit what you and I just presented. Now, they can't challenge the facts that we presented because they're in stone, right? What I said is in stone. It has happened. But they'll never admit that it's America's lack of authority in the world that is causing one after the other after the other. And I don't know if the majority of American people even care anymore.
Well, I think if you look back historically, appeasement, retreat, and concessions are often very popular at the time. There was no uprising against Chamberlain when he came back in 1938 from essentially giving away Czechoslovakia and much of Europe into Hitler's hands. They were upset a year later when war broke out. Churchill was the one who said we were given the choice of dishonor or war. We chose dishonor, we will get war. Churchill was not that popular a guy at the time. He became later when the prophecies that he had made all came true.
And then they turned against him.
When Obama's retreat, no, well, yeah, but after
then the
he
British
won the
people
Second
turned against
World
after
War.
they won a war. But look,
that's,
more importantly,
yeah, but that's a different issue. That's just ingratitude.
This is what I'm worried about. All right, President Obama is going to leave office in about 18 months. Okay,
right.
The new president, whoever is going to inherit an unbelievable mess abroad and an economy that's stagnant. Right. Okay. However, in the meantime, Americans have to make a decision about whom they're going to vote for. And I don't think that most Americans have any blanket clue about how bad it is overseas. And surely the press and the president himself are not telling them.
But there's a difference between what's bad overseas and what you feel in your house, in your home, at the kitchen table. And the fact is that when you go into retreat, Obama's retreat was quite popular. In 2009 and 10, leaving Iraq, there was not a lot of opposition. The idea that we're not going to intervene in Syria, I don't remember a lot of popular opposition to that. Leaving Ukraine to be eaten alive by the Russian bear, there's not a lot of protest. And the reason is the immediate effects are not there.
That's right.
This is a process.
Down the road.
It takes a few years when the consequences become such. For example, we will wake up very soon and discover that Iran has nuclear weapons.
That's right.
The world will change and we will be fearful, and that will be the result of something Obama did but did not have immediate effects.
All right. We're going to hold Charles